Welcome to the #1 source for information, news, and opinion on your Columbus Blue Jackets. This is CBJin30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. You can also find the audio version on the CBJ Radio SoundCloud page, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, Google Play Music, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Now here's your host, Bob McElligott.
Back at it tonight for the Blue Jackets as they resume their series with the Toronto Maple Leafs, a series that is tied at 1 game apiece. So do I even need to tell you how pivotal tonight's game is? A game that gets underway at 8 o'clock tonight. The winner is going to take the series lead, and then it's a back-to-back situation as Game 4 is going to be played on Friday. So there's a chance. If you get a win tonight, you get some momentum, you can carry that into tomorrow and maybe even close out the series. That's how important this one is going to be tonight. I have a huge show coming your way today. I'm going to talk with Elliotte Friedman from Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. We'll talk about this series. We'll talk about other things going on in the league. I will also talk with Blue Jackets head coach John Tortorella, who was not in the best of moods after the last game when his team was shut out by the score of 3-0. Short press conference, not many words for John Tortorella. Maybe I can get some more words out of him today. But the words I want to use right now are the ones that will tell you about Telhio Credit Union. They are a business that is not just thinking about putting their people over profit. They're doing it, and they've been doing it for a long, long time. They've been doing it since back in 1934. So they're good at it. They know exactly what they're doing, which begs the question, why settle for a normal bank when you can have a credit union that will put you first? Want to find out all about Telhio Credit Union? It's so easy to do. All you have to do is go to their website, telhio.org. You surf around there. You can see all of the different services that they offer. You can see the benefits that come your way through those services, and you can see why they put people first. You can see how they put them first. Why they put them first is because they care, and they have for a long, long time. Telhio Credit Union. So let's talk about this game tonight and how important it's going to be for the Blue Jackets to find their identity from Sunday. It's really funny that this team had such a perfect game in Game 1 and then came back and had such an imperfect game in Game 2. The early hit on Dean Kukin that took him out of the game for a little bit. Did that affect the Blue Jackets? The number of penalties, how much did that affect the Blue Jackets? So many questions, and there are so many answers that I don't have, that I know a guy that does have them. And again, he was not in a good mood after Game 2, but well, let's see if he's in a little bit better mood here. I think I can get more out of him than most of the media. I just had this question the other day on the Monday mailbag, right, about my relationship with John Tortorella. Can I get more things out of him? We are about to find out. And I'm going to call this today's game preview, which is being brought to you by Moo Moo Express Car Wash, the home of the Unlimited Wash Club. Here he is, the head coach of the Blue Jackets, John Tortorella. Torch, from a coaching standpoint and game preparation and all of that stuff, how much does the urgency shift in a short series, a 5-game series, as opposed to the time that you normally have to plot and decide in a 7-game series?
Well, I don't think there's much difference, quite honestly. I think anytime momentum swings to another team, or have be it you're always looking to get it back our side, and I guess it's a little bit more urgent as you don't play as many games. But what's urgent? You know, the definition of urgent is urgent. You need to get it done and get things shifted. So not much difference. You just don't have much room for error.
Are you a nighttime guy or a morning guy? What I mean is you played a 4 o'clock game. So did you spend a lot of time? I know you're always thinking, no matter what, in your own head, but when it comes to talking to maybe your assistants or Yarmo and things like that, when you're going to involve other people and bounce it around, is that something you do like after games, or is that something that you normally put off until the next day?
Yeah, we don't do any of that after games. It's a pretty dangerous situation, quite honestly, after games, because the emotion's still there, adrenaline's still running. I think you make some pretty bad decisions, and some things are discussed in the wrong way right after a game. So yeah, we had our meeting. The coaches met this morning at 11:30 before our 2:30 practice, to plot where we're going, and we got about our business, had a good practice today, and get ready for tomorrow.
Do they pump the crowd noise into the building there in Toronto?
I've heard it when I've watched games. I don't really hear it during our games. I don't. I'm sure they do, because when I've watched other games on TV, I've heard it.
The only reason I ask you that is because, I always hear it in my headsets when I'm doing the game. But when Jake Muzzin got hurt, they shut it off. And I've got to be honest with you, it was really eerie. And there you guys were in the building and you were on the bench. But I mean, it was absolute silence. As you know, there's always, when that happens in a game, there's a murmur in the crowd. There was absolutely nothing. And just looking, and you don't have any idea what's happening with the guy. And then it's that silent. It was a really different experience. What was that like on the bench?
Yeah. Everything about it on the bench is different as you go through the game. But that was, I think on both benches, right on through, everybody's just hoping the guy's okay. I happened to watch a little video. I saw him moving his limbs early on. And again, I'm still not exactly sure what happened to him, but it was different because it was very quiet because there was nothing else other than the teams. So I hope he's okay. I really do. I'm sure everybody feels that way.
Yeah, you're right. It looked like I watched that hit like, all they did was show it over and over and over. Yeah. And now that I'm calling the game off of TV, I saw it probably 10 times. And it looks so innocent. But how many times we see that in sports, right? Where in different sports where something looks like it's not that big a deal and it turns out to be a big deal. So as you said, hopefully in this case it's not. Yeah.
And I from what I've read today, I guess he's back with the team. He didn't spend the night there, I don't think. So yeah, that first and foremost, we're always looking out for the health of the player, and we're competitors. We want to beat you like a drum on the scoreboard, but we don't want anybody put in that type of situation. So I hope things are okay.
As you talked about earlier with the, kind of getting over when things are, you don't want to hold on to the good times too much in the playoffs or the bad times too much in the playoffs, obviously. But for your team, I mean, there is a blueprint, right? What you did in game one is who you are and is what you have to do. You didn't do it the same way in game two. Just go back to Sunday, right?
In playoffs especially, it's a flat line about each and every day, getting about your business. Each day may bring something you may need to work on. It may be some tape. It may be tape and practice. Who knows? But I think it's very important that you keep your wits about yourself one way or another, good or bad, and just get it ready for your next day.
And one thing your team has been good at here over the years as they've played under you is kind of putting yesterday behind them and moving ahead, turning that page very quickly. And as you said, when we get back to the urgency thing, they don't have a choice.
No, and that's how our team plays anyway. We had a good practice today. We're looking forward to tomorrow. We have a 11 o'clock meeting, and we play our 8 o'clock game. We're looking forward to it.
I just got to ask you, with that early hit on Dean Kukin last night, which got you down to 5 defensemen early, and then with the penalties that you took, did that the hit disrupts the way you play defensively with your 3 pairs? And
nope.
Okay, well, I just mean you were mixing and matching, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't affect us. He was back quickly. That doesn't affect us at all. We're glad he was okay. Again, that's first and foremost, but that didn't affect us at all because we're moving our defensemen around anyway. So,
but the penalty certainly did, just because you got out of your flow of playing the 4 lines regularly like you did on Sunday.
Need to stay out of the box.
Right. At practice, Marcus Nudavara seemed to move up and play with Ryan Murray. Do you know if you're going to go that way or not?
Not sure. I'm not sure what lineup is as far as lines. Who's playing as far as our forwards are concerned, who's playing as far as our D. We looked at some different things today. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to go. We still have another coaches meeting plus a meeting with the players tomorrow. We'll make our decision before that 8 o'clock game.
I would never ask you about lines anyway, because what I've learned in 5 years with you is they could last 10 seconds.
Yes. So we'll see what happens here.
I do appreciate that, though. You keep me on my toes, especially when I'm watching the TV screen and I can't see what's going on. You just make my job harder. Thanks, Torts. I appreciate that.
Quite welcome.
Hey, thank you very much for doing this, and good luck to you in Game 3.
Okay, Bobby. Be well, buddy.
You see, I knew I could get more out of him than most others can. Listen, he is not a happy camper right now, and he shouldn't be a happy camper right now. His team has to get back to doing what they do best. But you did hear what he said. They've been really good at taking a bad game, putting it behind them, and just moving ahead, moving forward. And that's what they're going to have to do in order to get back in the lead in this series with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He also talked about he didn't think that hit on Kukin was such a big deal, but yet he had Marcus Nudavara yesterday in practicing in the number 6 spot and not Dean Kukin. He's mixed up the lines a little bit. As he said, nothing is a final decision. Listen, I know that's what he said, and I'm not saying that he doesn't mean that. And I'm just going to check these lines here because I want to make sure that I get them completely right. But listen, most times, not all the time, but most times what he skates with in practice the day before, he's going to come back with in the game, at least at the beginning. But you heard what I told him, and you know it's true, that might last 10 seconds, 30 seconds, one shift. So we put a lot of emphasis on it, but I don't know if it should have a lot of emphasis on it, quite honestly. But yesterday in practice, Pierre-Luc Dubois was with Alexander Texier and Cam Atkinson. Alexander Wenberg was skating with Gus Nyquist and Oliver Bjorkstrand. Boone Jenner was skating with Nick Foligno and Liam Foudy. And then Riley Nash stayed with Eric Robinson and Emil Bemstrom. As I said, the defense, Werenski, Jones, Gavrikov, Savard, no changes there. Murray and Nudavara is what skated. So look for that. That's my guess. I think that's what he will go with to start the game. If it doesn't work, he's going to change it really fast because that's what John Tortorella does. But of all of those names I just read you, the guy that has been the most consistent has been their goaltender, Jonas Korpisalo, and he has to continue to play at the high level that he played at in games number 1 and 2. And that's a tall order. It really is, because this is such a good offensive team that is facing him. So he's just got to continue to do what he's doing. His team really has given him a good chance. Look, if you look at the 2 goals that were scored against him in game 2, Zach Werenski gets caught both times, unfortunately. But on the first one, it's Oliver Bjorkstrand trying to come back in a back check and get the stick of Austin Matthews. That's a bit of a mismatch right there. No offense to Oliver Bjorkstrand. He's a good defender, but is he as good as a regular defenseman? The answer is no. So that's the first goal. The second goal is just a turnover down low by Werenski that they are able to spring out to John Tavares, and then it's a one-on-one. So Jonas Korpisalo in the goaltending has been the least of the problems of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Jonas has to make sure that it stays that way as the series continues. He's got to continue to be the best player on the ice for the Blue Jackets, no doubt, because he is going to be tested over and over and over again. Now, this series is so important to all of us in Columbus because we are Blue Jackets fans and we're rooting for the Blue Jackets to take care of the Leafs. When you look at this series in the bigger picture, I think there are 2 different views on it. I look where this game is slotted on the national television schedule. I mean, game 1, was it game 1? Yes, game 1 was kind of a joint in progress by NBC. The second game's 4:00 game. That's okay. And then you've got this game that is coming up tonight. I think this is going to be on NHL Network. But listen, of course, here, all of the games can be seen on Fox Sports Ohio. It doesn't affect anyone that really wants to see the Blue Jackets here. But here's what my whole point is. This series, I think, is treated as a bit of a secondary series in the United States. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm just looking at where it's popping up on the listings here, right? So there's not a lot. I don't think there's as much focus on this one. Obviously, there's big focus on, the Islanders and the Panthers and the Canadiens and the Penguins and all of that. Is there more on Arizona and Nashville? I don't know. That might be pushing it a little bit. But anyway, I just think that here in the United States, it's going on, but it's not really being highly talked about. But now you go north of the border in Canada, and this one is one of the be-all, end-alls. The other one, of course, involves Montreal. But and that's no disrespect to Edmonton and Calgary and Vancouver and Winnipeg, and it's not disrespect. It's just a fact, okay? It's just a fact that most people in Canada associate, well, in the eastern part of Canada, they're going to live and die with the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs. So once you get beyond the United States going north and you cross that border, which you used to be allowed to do and now you can't do. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's a really big deal. Really big deal. So that's why I wanted to go to somebody who is also a really big deal to talk about this and to give us a little bit of insight on all things going on in this series, how it's being viewed in Canada, really how it's being viewed in the big picture hockey world. So I have reached out to Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada, and he was gracious enough to give me his time and come on and talk all about it. And here is Elliotte Friedman in today's interview, brought to you by the Columbus Dispatch. Well, Elliotte, before we get going into all of this, I want to talk to you about the Jake Muzzin situation that happened in Game 2 of the Blue Jackets series. Of course, he gets hurt very late in the third period. They had to take him out on a stretcher. I understand, if I'm not mistaken, he went outside the bubble and came back inside the bubble. What can you tell me about Jake?
Bob, I'm trying to get exact clarity on how this works. There is something in the Stage 4 protocols that says that if you leave the bubble, that you have to have 4 days of negative tests before you're allowed to come back and join your teammates. However, I have also been told that there were exceptions made for visits to the hospitals, and that there was some protocol set up between the league and the Players Association involving local hospitals. Like, there is a setup within the bubble, but if you have to go for some specific exams, like the one that Jake Muzzin probably had to do, you have to go outside the bubble. But I know the League and Players Association had talked about with these hospitals, does it mean you're technically outside of the bubble? Is there a way to mitigate risk? And I believe they left it in the hands of the doctors to decide if a player has to go to the hospital, what is the risk, and are they technically treated as someone who's left the bubble? And as we record this at 1:06 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon, I haven't gotten a clear answer to that yet. If you looked at Toronto's statement, it sure made it sound like because he had to leave, he was out because of injury, but also he was going to have to be quarantined. But until I know 100%, I don't want to give a certain clear answer.
Well, that injury, I mean, it looked like an innocent thing, and then obviously it was not innocent. But, Elliotte, the one thing that really hit home to me is the silence in the arena.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got the simulated crowd noise, fake crowd noise. That's what it is. So that's what we're hearing and stuff. But, man, when they shut that off, it was interesting. It was scary almost, the silence in that building, wasn't it?
It was eerie. It was very eerie. And even normally in a building that would be full, it would still be pretty quiet, but that just seemed even quieter. Like you could hear, I mean, the most background of background noise. It was very strange. And also normally when a player is taken off on a stretcher, you get a big applause or something like that, almost a best wishes. Good luck. And you couldn't even hear that, though you could hear the sticks tapping pretty clearly. It was, Bob. There's no question it's added to the surreal nature of the times.
Well, the Leafs had a lot of pressure on them going into the second game. They answered that pressure very well. What have you thought of the first two games of this series? Any surprises for you?
Not really, I have to say. You know, it's funny, Bob. Like, I grew up in Toronto, so a lot of my friends are huge Leaf fans. And when you guys jumped out to a 3-0 lead over Boston in the exhibition game, they were texting me, "We're doomed. We're going to get killed. Like, these guys are going to kill us." And I said, "Guys, like, it hasn't even started yet. Calm down." And then when they lost Game 1 to Columbus, I was like, "Told you, we're doomed. We're totally screwed. We have no chance. Trade everybody." Like, it was as if you could imagine. And, you know, they're a little bit more relaxed after game number 2. Like, I don't know why anybody would be surprised. The Columbus Blue Jackets have come in and played exactly as advertised. You don't give up much. You play hard. Every shift is a battle for every inch. And, you know, you have great structure. And you know that against Columbus, you have to be patient and wait for your opportunity. And, Toronto's got a lot of players that can create opportunities. It's just hard to do it against you guys. And I generally don't think Toronto's played that badly. I just think you guys play a system where you have to wait for your opportunity, you have to score on your opportunity, and you can't make too many mistakes. And in game one, Freddie Anderson made a mistake. You guys won the game. In game two, I think the big mistake was the second goal, and you guys paid for it. And to me, that's the difference in two games.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I agree with you 100%. The saying in sports is you win defense or you win championships through defense, and that's all great. And the Blue Jackets had that defense, but the only thing that was really brought to light in game number two is you do have to have some offense, and that's always been the concern of this team. Well, especially with the departure of Artemi Panarin, you don't have that dynamic guy. So the Blue Jackets, again, it just showed that if you're going to win, you got to grind it out.
Especially for your team. Like, you're not going to outscore the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you're going to get into a track meet with them, you're going to lose. Unless Korpisalo, or should it be Merzlikins, absolutely steals the game. If you go that way, you're going to lose. So that's why this series is being played at this particular pace. And, I don't think that should surprise anyone. It's going to come down – the first two games have come down to which mistake ends up in your net. And I think anybody who's been watching would say – that's why Columbus won game one, and that's why Toronto won game two.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. You mentioned the goaltenders on this team. For the fan base here, there was some division as to who they thought should start. There was some surprise as to who eventually did start. I was not in the surprise column. This is exactly what I thought John Tortorella would do. Korpisalo has been here longer. He's an NHL All-Star. He had a good season. I think he deserved it, but they were still battling through camp to figure out who was going to get that starting position. It obviously has turned out to be a good choice for two games. Were you surprised at all outside of Columbus? Was there any surprise that it was Jonas Korpisalo over Elvis Merzlikins?
Probably a little bit, simply because Merzlikins was the hotter guy later in the year. But I don't know, Bob, how relevant that is because, we've never had anything like this. And, this year, someone made a really good point to me. He said there's a lot of teams, like if you make the Stanley Cup final, you're playing in June. And even if you make the semifinal, you're playing until the end of May. You've been off longer now, maybe than you would be from March than you would be in a normal season. And the guy who showed up ready to play at the beginning of this year was Korpisalo, and he won the job, and he would have been an all-star if he wasn't hurt. So to me, that says that the guy that they saw ready for the start of the past year was the guy they saw ready right now. And the other thing I always say, Tortorella as well as anybody else, he's only picking a goalie for one reason. And that is the guy who he thinks gives him a better chance to win. Like, he's not doing this for anybody's feelings or a hunch or anything like that. He's going to Manny Legacy and he's going to say, okay, which guy gives me a better chance to win? Korpisalo? Okay, he's playing. That's it. And obviously in two games, nothing he thought has been wrong.
Yeah, it's funny. In the first two games, Korpisalo has looked very Sergei Bobrovsky-like, hasn't he?
Yeah, Chris Johnston, I like my coworker Chris Johnston at Sportsnet. He gave Korpisalo the kiss of death. He wrote, Korpisalo's made the first 50 saves in this series, and 2 minutes later, Auston Matthews scored. So he put the kabuki on you or whatever.
Let me ask you, you were talking about how you normally play into June and stuff like that, and I've heard your phone go off several times, and that's because you're an insider. There's always people texting you and looking for information, giving information. When we get beyond this huge tournament that's going on right now, and I guess the next season is going to start in December, so they say, but what is your life going to be like in what's going to be a very compacted situation with free agency and all that stuff? It's going to happen a lot quicker than it normally would.
We talked about it with my family and with my work, Bob. Normally I go on vacation. Like, my work's really good. They're like during the year, you're on the clock. But from the day we go off air with free agency until Labor Day, you're free. You're free to do what you want. And, this year on July 1st, I took 2 weeks. But because I also knew that if this goes as everyone's planning, and we all know right now life is going no way anyone is planning, But, we're going to go playoffs, and then we're going to go right to draft, right to free agency, short turnaround, training camp next season. And next summer may be short too, Bob. So, nobody really knows. And so I expect to be busy, and my family expects me to be busy. And we joke that the biggest winner out of this is my wife and her boyfriend, because I'm not going to be around very much. But, the one thing is that life is not normal for anyone. So there's no sense complaining about it. And you just have to embrace it and make the best of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's dead on. It's not even close to even calling these games. I mean, it's really strange for us. And I know, you're in the studio, and everybody's in the studio right now except just a couple select national guys. So, have you talked to any of us play-by-play guys around the league about how everybody's adjusting to this?
Well, I think calling things off a monitor is really hard. But I think a lot of people, like the best line I heard, and I heard it from a GM who's in the bubble. He said to me, it's what you make of it, right? You can sit here and you can complain and you can say this sucks, and it's obviously not ideal, but it's the way things are, and we can just have fun and make the best of it. The Carolina Hurricanes just put something out on their social media before the playoffs started. Their families, the team asked for videos from all their families wishing them good luck, and they just showed it. And it was a very emotional piece. It was very well done. And I just think that's the only way we can do it. We can draw support from each other, and it's not ideal for anyone, but, we have to make the best of it. And maybe, hopefully the day comes, Bob, where we can all look back at this and kind of laugh a little bit and say, we got challenged and we made it work and we made some fun out of it, because this is a really hard time for people. And we're lucky because we have the most, I don't know if normal's the right word, but the closest to normal lives right now. We're doing almost what we're used to doing.
Yeah, that's a very, very fair point. What have you thought about the tournament overall? And you're obviously a busy guy because there's, 5 and 6 games being played a day. Have you enjoyed all of this hockey coming so quickly?
I have. I mean, you don't realize, it's like the old line, you don't realize how much you miss something until it's gone. And it was gone, and I really missed it. I have to say the quality of the games has been better than I thought. One of the things I know people were worried about was the games would have no energy and no edge to them because there were no fans, and also players weren't used to playing at this time of year. If you take a look at it, Bob, like some of these series have been really hard. Like I think the Toronto-Columbus series has been really hard. I think the Vancouver-Minnesota series has been really hard. I think the Winnipeg-Calgary series has been really hard. I think that these teams have really – I think Pittsburgh-Montreal has been a very hard series. I think these teams are really competing against each other, and I think that's a lot of credit to the players, because I think it would be very easy to say, there's no fans in the building, or, we're not used to playing at this time of year, and not being yourself.
I've got to tell you, back in November, I was really impressed with that mustache that you had.
It was so disgusting.
But I didn't think it could get better than that. But this beard is like the mustache on steroids, man.
Well, I look at it this way. Life has really sucked for a lot of people lately, Bob. Whether you've had to deal with COVID in your family or not, I mean, there's a lot of challenges. There's the financial challenges on people. There's people losing their jobs. There's the racial challenges of the world. There's a lot of things going on that affect a lot of people. And, normally my bosses, they would never let me go on air like this. But I just said, like, let's make people laugh. Let's give them something to laugh about. And, we have most people. I just want people to laugh and have a reaction. Some people really hate it. Some people think I'm really unprofessional. But, I mean, everyone's going to hate something, right? But most people, like we have a thing in Canada. It's Hockey Night in Punjabi. We have a broadcast that's done in the Punjabi language, and it's very popular. And some of the people who work on that broadcast are fans of the broadcast. They Photoshop me like with a turban on. Like they said, you'd be a perfect fit to our show. And Bob, it was funny. Like I saw it and I loved it and I laughed. I didn't retweet it because you just never know in this day and age.
Right.
But I just that's what I wanted. I wanted people to have fun and laugh.
Now, when the day comes to actually get rid of it,
Yeah.
are you going to do something for charity with that? Because you obviously can.
Yeah, we're looking at it. We're trying to figure out how we want to do this, but we are definitely looking at it.
I would like to see your picture right next to Charlton Heston back in the Ten Commandments movie, though.
You know what? Somebody did a Photoshop for me. I'll send it to you. So you can have it.
That would be great. Elliotte, again, I know you're very, very busy, and I so much appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about this. Great to see you, and best of luck to you as the Stanley Cup playoffs continue.
All right. Thanks very much, Bob. Great series. I want to see it go 5.
Thanks once again to Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet, Rogers Sportsnet in Canada, and also Hockey Night in Canada. He is so giving of his time and such a good guy and one of the best insiders in the game. So thanks to him for giving up some of his very precious time to talk with you and I here today. Right now it's time to check the statistical leaders in the NHL postseason. And the leaders are being brought to you by Franklin University. Franklin makes it possible. And the points leader is Sebastian Aho. He has 8 points so far this postseason. Connor McDavid has 6, as does Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Those are the top guys on the list. Connor McDavid has the most goals. He's got 4 of those. You've got Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, and Kevin Fiala of the Minnesota Wild are all tied with 3 goals apiece. So 2 of those 3 guys, members of the Carolina Hurricanes. Also, when it comes to assists, Aho is right there. He's got 5 assists so far. So does Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Eric Stahl of the Minnesota Wild. I still struggle to say that. I don't know why. Eric Stahl of the Wild has 4 assists so far. And here's one for you. Time on ice per game. The Blue Jackets have players that are number 5 and 6 on this list. Seth Jones is number 5. 27 minutes, 29 seconds. Zach Werenski is 6th, 27 minutes and 3 seconds. And they're not that far off the pace. Shea Weber's got 28 minutes, 34 seconds to lead everybody. Chris Letang just 17 seconds behind him at 28:17. And then Jeff Petrie for the Montreal Canadiens at 28:08. Dmitry Orlov of Washington, 27:53. So the Blue Jackets right up there, their top pair, getting a lot of minutes, and that's because they are very productive minutes. Once again, tonight, 8 o'clock is the face-off. Pre-game coverage starts at 7 o'clock on the Blue Jackets radio network, and that includes our flagship station in Columbus, 97.1 The Fan, also our stations in Ohio and in West Virginia. You can get us through your phone by using the Blue Jackets app or the TuneIn app. You can find us online at bluejackets.com or nhl.com. And because the Blue Jackets happen to be the home team tonight, that means SiriusXM Radio, Channel 91, is going to carry us. They carry the home team, right? So finally, I'll be on satellite radio tonight and tomorrow. So you can find me in any of those places to bring you all of the action of the Blue Jackets and the Toronto Maple Leafs, Game 3 of their best-of-5 qualifying series. That's going to do it for today's edition of CBJin30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Until game time, I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.